So self-doubt. Um, what is your experience with self-doubt, or was your experience with self-doubt when um, you originally embarked on your journey into more spiritual awareness?
Oh man, shoot, self-doubt. That's what's my experience with that?
Yeah.
That's where I am in my journey now. So we discussed, kind of like somebody being a planner. I
Yeah.
have been that in the past, where I'm trying to make a plan for everything, plan A to Z, plan A1 to Z1 if all the other plans fail.
Yeah.
And I have a term for that. I call it being a pivoter, somebody who can just pivot. Oh, pivot, 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 pivot. And so that was my way of not ever really, it's not to say I didn't have any doubts back then, but to not heavily sit long in doubt, I would just pivot until spirit made it impossible for me to pivot. And it's like, no, 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 you're going to sit. Like, sit down, Samantha. And if you only knew how hard, it's like, it was trying to it was like trying to pin the flash. I'm telling you, I've never ever been in an understanding of not being able to pivot. I'm telling you, my mind, the way it works, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna find a way to not have to sit too long and doubt, or sit too long and deal with certain emotional understandings.
Yeah.
So in the past, it's never that I didn't feel doubt, but I didn't allow myself to sit long in it. I would always find something to move toward, or something to do, or whatever the case may be, so I wouldn't sit long in it until this part of my journey, the latter part of my spiritual ascension journey. And in that case, everything in my life seemed to really blow up. Like, I didn't have anything that I could hide behind. I didn't have anything to escape to, not friends, not a relationship. And, even at the time, I wasn't even working. Like I said, I had walked away from doing readings or anything like that. So I was just being, still. And it was really kind of, you could say, dark night of the soul understand. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but it was kind of like a place of me being to myself. And I started to feel how stretched, or how exhausted my soul was from all of the doings and runnings and pivoting, from me facing all of these more downward emotions. Because for the most part of my life, I have always been a very optimistic person. Optimistic, silver lining. I could find the hope in a grain of sand, But this time, my soul was like, you need to rest, and you need to just finally face all of these things. And the thing is on I find it hard because I feel like we're always on some level of spiritual ascension. So the level of spiritual ascension that I stepped into, back in 2020, it was very intense, or a very higher understanding of that than what I was in before. And then this level was really me. This is the level of me truly giving up, or accepting that I was not in control of my life, that my creator was. Yeah. And when you have been somebody who has controlled every portion of your life, always had a plan, always, kind of felt you knew what was coming next because you did have a plan, and then all of a sudden that stops, then there's a lot of doubt, especially when you are just connecting heavily with only one thing, really. Yes, my spirit guides and ancestors, but really source itself. And source is speaking to you about the way that it wants you to go and the way that it wants you to move. And you don't feel necessarily capable. You feel like this is beyond you. You feel like you don't see how these things are going to come together, or how it's all going to add up and everything else. There was a great doubt. It's like, oh my God, I get somebody else to do it. It really is like, this is not what I said, I signed up for. I said I wanted to trust you and follow you in truth. But at the same time, I really thought I was still going to be able to be in control of my journey in some sense. So self-doubt, I felt a lot of it. My thing about self-doubt is that I've allowed myself, well, at some point it was like I really didn't have any choice. My soul was tired, and it needed me to just finally rest. And so self-doubt for me is allowing myself room to be anxious, be afraid, and then, letting that energy pass. It's really, really acknowledging it. And acknowledging it, standing in it, sitting in it, sleeping in it if I need to, whatever the case may be, allowing that energy to have its moment, to give its monkey mind. What if this doesn't work out? What if this doesn't come through? What if the good thing doesn't happen, or whatever the case may be? And just allowing it to have its moment, and then being like, okay, I don't know if everything's going to turn out okay, or I don't know if this is going to be the best understanding, but I know regardless of that, I'm going to make it through it. It's
Yeah.
That's my creator has told me I am. And I have to trust that. I don't see what's going to happen. Even that car accident that I told you about, actually kind of like I've had visions of it since childhood, and this one, I've actually always kind of had a thing with cars. It's just like it was always coming. And in that sense, I had a lot of anxiety about it happening, and Spirit told me, that it would, well, to be honest with you, I thought that what was going to happen is that, I was going to be like, never experience it, when Spirit was like, I got you. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But, and I had a whole argument with, I was like, no, because you said that you had my back, and it said, basically, but did you die? Like, that's literally kind of the conversation Spirit had.
That's
And
what I said. Yeah.
it really was like that. It was never that you were not going to experience have this experience or go through this, but it was that I was always going to protect you through it. I was always going to have my hand over you. And again, I'm not a very big person, and that car was totaled. It really turned over and everything. It took out a couple of trees, and I walked away from it with no bodily injury, for real. So yeah, but at the same time, I had a lot of doubt and anxiety about, whether or not I was going to get past this or survive this understanding. And I was kind of afraid to drive for a long period of my life because I kept seeing a vision of this particular accident, And actually, the reason that I kind of got started on the higher understanding of my spiritual journey is because I felt like this accident was coming, at that time. And this was 4 years before this particular one happened. And I felt it was coming. And Spirit was like, if you trust me, I'm going to protect you through this. Do you trust me? And because, I can't have this conversation with just a regular person. I'm a very logical person in some sense, And who am I to go out here just telling people, listen, there's a car accident that's coming that's going to try to take me out. I'm telling you, that sounds crazy. But I know I felt it, and I knew the truth of it. And, finally I'm sitting in my car, having this conversation with Spirit. I feel that this is coming. I know that this is coming. And it's like, trust me, give your existence to me, and I will take care of you. And that was the first moment that I really fully gave my existence back to my creator. Because in some sense, your life is your own. It is. Your choices, you have free will. And I don't think that free will is what everybody thinks it is. But you do. You have free will. And our creator would like us, if we choose in our free will, to give our existence back to it. And in that moment, I gave my existence back to it. And, it has been an interesting journey. I've had a lot of doubt in it, because in doing so, giving my existence back to my creator and allowing it to move me how it felt I should move, I don't know anything. I'm accepting that. And it's really like a child that, doesn't know where its parent is going to take it, tomorrow. And that's big, So I think that in my highest understanding of ascension over these past few years, I've had a lot of self-doubt. And I just have acknowledged that, well, I doubt or I'm afraid, but, I've chosen this path. This is what I've chosen. And, there's not really any turning back from it. So all I can do is trust and allow these emotions to run their course and be released from me. And the more that I do that, the more at peace or balanced I feel. Sometimes I feel like people are like, how do I get to a state of peace? Well, how have you given yourself permission to feel the things that are opposite to peace? Have you done that? If you do that, then you will have more consistent peace, more consistent balance, because you've given all the other versions of you permission to exist. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I said a lot of things
That
and
was
got back.
epic. That was epic, Zen. Peace comes from giving yourself the freedom, perhaps, I might have to change this, the freedom to feel the things that are opposite of peace.
Yeah, and at least that's how it's worked for me, and it was not an easy understanding. I really feel like I took again, with self-doubt, I used to be in this understanding I'm going to face everything. I've always not used to, I still do that, but it was in a way where, like, if something, I was afraid of doing something, I would do it, so I wouldn't be afraid of it anymore. And with this journey of ascension, where this higher understanding of ascension that I've kind of like been on, I kind of went through like I took all of my doubts and anxieties, and I faced all of it together in like one big portion, like not just a sip or a small understanding or a small increment of it, but just, all of it, like swimming through it, immersing in it, and finding my way out the other side of it, And so, and when it comes to self-doubt or anxiety, like I really just kind of like, you could even say, drowned in it in some sense. Like I really walked through all of it instead of just a small portion. And I really did that to myself. I spent more of the past 4 years to myself than really speaking to anybody else. I mean, outside of when I started back, doing readings and with my clients, connecting with them, I spent a lot of time just to myself, really facing me, facing all the shadows of myself, so that I could, be in a more balanced energy overall.
Wow. 4 years.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, well, actually, most of 2024 has been with more people in my life. So yeah, 4 years. I was going to say almost 5, but yeah, about 4 years. I spent some of that time connecting with people, but outside of my clients, but very little. I even took space away from my family, and it's really because I didn't want any of this transforming of me, or this changing of myself to like bleed out in a way that was, imbalanced. Because again, like I've gone through a lot of different emotions, and not all of them have been peaceful. It took a lot for me to get through this. I had to deal with a well of other emotions within myself that I had ignored or suppressed or pivoted away from, or tried to escape from. And so, yeah. Hey, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have a question you would like to ask, or would like the opportunity to receive a one-on-one session, please check out the links in this video's description to sign up for a free session or submit a question.